all you founding champions out there? It's Scott back at it again with a deck list. So today, as you can tell before you, I have a death deck list. This is part of my anti-destruction series. This deck, I believe, beats destruction. I have some results online. It defeats destruction about 60-40. So you have a better than 50% matchup, in my opinion. This deck also has a higher skill cap than my last deck that I showed. The last deck was the ordered beatdown deck. Much higher skill cap because it's easier to lose against the non-destruction players if you're getting greedy. In this deck, there's a lot of plays that make you want to get greedy, and I'll go into that into more detail. However, I finally found a deck that beats destruction, and without further ado, let's go. Champions. First off, we got 2 Crypt Haunter Courtiers, followed by 2 Hungering Vampire Lord. Next up, for blessings, I have Supernatural Horror, Carrion Feast, Deathless Thralls, and Cursed Altar. Now for the units, I got 3 Frenzied Vargeist, 3 Feasting Vargeist, 3 Murderous Vargeist, 3 Freakish Crypt Horrors, 2 Fearsome Crypt Flares, 1 Unhallowed Mortis Engine. Now for the spells, 3 Mystic Shield, 3 Soul Feast. Abilities, 3 Call of the Grave, 3 Devour, and 3 of everyone's favorite, Tactical Formation. Okay, now I'm going to go into more detail about what makes destruction tick. Or what this deck makes destruction tick. So, Hungering Vampire Lord, it's just an outstanding warrior wizard. You can fit 2 in the deck and some other good cards. This is 12 here plus 8, so that's 20. I like the fact that even though every one of his objectives are different, it's actually not too hard to complete his quest. And then next is Crypt Haunter Courtier, one of the best death champions, I believe, in the game right now. Especially when you have 2 of these, when you get low to like 3 or 4 health, you suddenly get back into the game outside of any single burn card range, or most cards. So a lot of cards they want to send at you will do like 5 damage or something, or 3 to 5 damage, sometimes 6. But this card will get you out of most of those ranges, and it makes you, and against other control decks, it makes you nearly invulnerable because they just can't deal that much damage to you all in one turn. Or if they get you low, you just gain health from here and then gain more health, and they just can't kill you. Also, the interaction with this card and Freakish Crypt Horror is outstanding. Freakish Crypt Horror will complete this objective, and this objective, and then all you have to do is play one more Mordant, and then will complete his quest. So, outstanding card. We see a lot of uses for this. Gives you 2 health, only costs 4. Just super easy to complete your objectives and your quests. Outstanding card. Next is the Blessings. I'm going to go over this. Against Destruction, this card is not so good against the other factions because they'll like to ping you a lot, and they can kind of play around this card. But Destruction, they're just shoving tons of damage very quickly. Now, they can ping you to try and get around this, but a lot of times they're just shoving damage. And being able to reduce damage by 3 along all lanes is very strong. Very, very strong. Deathless Thralls, it's really good at putting your guy in a lane where they're trying to push a lot of damage. You use Tactical Formation to get them there. Or you almost shut down a lane completely by reducing all damage from enemies by 2. And then your units can't be removed, which is kind of nice against certain decks. It does hose certain decks to flip that. Carrion Feast, it just does quite a bit of damage and gains quite a bit of life. You do have to spend an action to do that, but against control mirrors, it's really good at using up actions, because against a lot of control mirrors you are going down to losing the game from deck out, and we never lose the control mirror, and I'll go into more into how we don't lose that. And then the number 1 blessing in the whole game, shuts down all their units for three turns. I can't think of a game I lost after playing this against Destruction. This card is just so good that your opponent just gets too far behind. They suddenly have a million cards in their hand and no way to really play them. We're going to go next into the units. We have the Freakish Crypt Horror, literally only in here because of Crypt Hunter Courtier. This is just a good value card. We needed more Mordants to complete the quest, and I think this is one of the better ones to put in the deck. It makes their units dormant, which is really good against Destruction. Otherwise, you can put in the other Courtier, the one that does 6 damage over time. It will do more damage, but this effect is just so good against Destruction. And then we have Unhallowed Mortis Engine. Really good one of. Getting multiples of these is not so good, but when you have the one of these, it's really outstanding. It's good at hosing other decks that use spell damage, and then having a 6-point life swing. Here we go. Pretty common. You see this a lot in decks with Hungering Vampire because it rotates this one, then kills a guy and rotates that one. We use this ability here and then any unit. So you can, if you turn one this against, if you're going second and you turn one this, like this, it's going to rotate here. Next turn you're going to gain life, play any dude, boom. It's like a turn 2 quest objective. People are constantly trying to, and in Destruction you can't really avoid it because they have to play dudes. There's just not much other option. They try and get around it, and sometimes they can find success, but in the long run they can't do it the whole game. Anyways, here we go. Feasting Vargeist, obviously just outstanding card. Gain 2 health, draw 2 cards. Just really good. Murderous Vargeist, it's really good at rotating this first objective because we are doing a lot of killing. Then this is probably the hardest one to rotate, so if we can get this one unlocked, we unlock that one, and then we're cruising, guys. Next to the spells, damage reduction is extremely important against decks that are trying to combo some damage on you. Playing this right before they do that, it buys you a lot of time or completely blunts their damage, especially if they're trying to use like Cowardly Grots or anything like that to try and throw some damage at you. The Mystic Shield will save you a lot of times, and before, like I said, there's a lot of plays where you'll be greedy. You'll play the Mystic Shield 1 turn too late. And that's, guys, you got to play this card before they do the damage. Not, oh, I see some damage coming, then play this. It's not going to do what the card is intended to do. It's meant you play this, and then your next turn you have some breathing space because they have to wait, or they just lose a lot of their damage. Soul Feast. Killing a guy and gaining 6 life is just so good. When I'm able to get this off once or twice, I usually just straight up win that game. I'm out of reach. Losing a card out of their 30 cards and you gaining 6 life is just too much for some decks to handle. Then we have Call of the Grave. This card makes us so that we never lose against the control mirror. We gain 1 health, which is really good when you're using Hungering Vampire Lord. Instead of pitching a card to try and get over this or playing anything else that gains life, that's like a unit, you just straight up use one of these right here, and you gain the life, and then you get those cards back. And then you're going to want to try and get your opponent dead, you're going to have to recycle some of these cards because there's not quite enough damage on what's in the table right now. We're trying to get them by that deck out or recycle our cards, then get them by damage. Staple card. And then another staple card. Since we have a lot of removal in our deck, we want to be able to position our champions correctly so that we can get maximum efficiency out of our removal and not just have to wait for our opponent to play into our trap. But be careful. Your opponent can use a tactical formation to get out of range, but that's why we have our own tactical formation, and it thins the deck to try and get to our juicier spells. So that's the list. This is the deck that's good against Destruction, and as you can see, we've got the cards that make Destruction tick. Against the other decks, against Chaos, again, Chaos, people thought Death was the worst faction. Honestly, I think Chaos has probably gone to that level. It's just that I haven't lost any games against Chaos with this current build of the deck. Against Order, I've lost a few games. I'd say that Order has 60% against me. But I think that if you're not greedy, you'll win more games. Just don't be greedy and you'll win more games. I've lost a lot of close matchups because I got randomly greedy, mostly because I played a card too late. I gained life too late. I'm like, okay, I'll just gain life next turn. I'll play the Mystic Shield next turn. No. You're going to want to play those cards that turn. You're going to want to gain all your life that specific turn. Don't wait till next turn. Just go ahead and gain that life now or kill that creature now. You know, don't wait around. Don't try and draw more cards or whatever. Just do it now and you won't die. And then the rest of your deck, they will deck out before you 100% every time. That's just what's going to happen. I've never been decked with this deck. I've never lost by getting decked. And I've defeated most of my opponents through getting decked. I think my number one way of winning the game is people quitting because they realize they can't win. 2, they get decked. Or 3, they just completely lose the ability to kill me, and eventually they get picked off by a bunch of murdering Vargheists. That's really how you win these games. When you play this deck, you will find that your games are lasting a very long time, and there's a lot of room for error. Like I said, you know, if you're a type of player that you know you make a lot of mistakes, then you might not want to play this anti-destruction deck. Maybe you want to play the Order version, okay? And I'm going to come out with a Chaos version. The Chaos version is pretty good in my opinion for what it's doing right now, defeating, you know, creatures, because it's a heavy removal deck. I'm going to show you how to throw that removal on them. So stay tuned next time, and you will see how much damage you can push out with Chaos by killing their stuff. But I do think that this version is a little bit better than the Chaos version, only because this version can beat the Chaos deck. So if you're showing up with this deck to beat Destruction, and another guy shows up with the Chaos version to beat Destruction, then, you know, this deck's going to have the edge. You know, but it's up to you guys. This is a trading card game, so you can swap out a lot of cards. So, you know, if you want to try and increase your match percentage against Order and things like that, then feel free to change some cards around. But I do, you know, suggest that if you're putting the deck together for the first time, play it as its current configuration. That way you get the best result. That way you know where to go next, rather than you're almost starting from scratch if you change a lot of cards. And then you're just kind of doing your own thing, and you just kind of watch this video to give you a little inspiration. But, you know, that's fine, but your results are going to be very skewed from what I'm saying. You know, you're probably not going to get that 60, 50, 60, 40. So, like I said, try and use this deck list first, and then branch out, because I know after I make this video, I'm probably going to change a couple cards after a few games. I'm already feeling like I want only 2 of these instead of 3 of these, and things like that. I'm feeling like I'm not playing against as many control decks as I used to play against, so I'm feeling like I only need about 2 of these instead of 3 of these, and maybe a couple more dudes. But that's some of the changes that I'm thinking about making going forward, because I did a lot of tweaking. As you can see, you know, we have 1 of these and 2 of those, and, you know, I did change these around a lot. These just were not what they looked like. It was like this was that, and then these 3 just kept changing all the time, until I finally found this configuration that I like best. Alright guys, I just want to thank you for watching, and remember, together we are the 5th Grand Alliance.